Good morning. Welcome to Entrepreneurial Live Interviews with Connie Fuchsa. I created the interview series on purpose because I wanted you guys to see that entrepreneurs that decide, they see something in the world that needs to be changed or something that needs to be addressed. And maybe it's something that's already being talked about, but maybe not in the way that they see it. And so people take action. These entrepreneurs that I introduce you to are people that I've met across the country that are people that saw something that needed to be addressed and took action. And I also want to share with you these people because not always is it roses and sunshine. I mean, doesn't mean that because someone found something and started a business that, that the magical thing is happening. What's happening is they feel a passion in their heart or in their soul and say, I need to help the rest of the world with this. And that's what they're taking advantage and doing. And they run through mud puddles and they run into brick walls and they figure out how to brush themselves off and move on. And so I share these people with you, one, because they have amazing stories with incredible business opportunities or ideas, but also that they have these journeys that we can all relate to. And I love seeing the power that these people empower themselves with and all the rest of us with these really cool tools that they found. So today I got to meet this lady not very long ago, and I'm super excited to share her with you because she has such a unique story that so many of us ladies can relate to, and maybe gentlemen too, because your wives may be in a similar situation. So I think it's so very important to be able to share those kinds of things so we can all gravitate around it. And I can't thank you enough. Melissa Bell, thank you so much for being with me today.
Oh, thank you, Connie. I'm so glad to be here. What a nice introduction.
Absolutely. Well, I am thrilled to have you. Melissa is the founder of Power Surge. And Melissa, tell us about you. Tell us where you came from, what you've been doing up until now, and how you started this and what this is all about.
Yeah, sure. So Power Surge is a program I created to help perimenopausal and menopausal women bring balance back to their bodies, minds, and spirits. And I call myself the Menopause Coach. And how I got here was a crazy route, I guess, and very non-traditional for even to be an entrepreneur, I guess. I was federal law enforcement for over 10 years. I was a DEA agent, so kicking in doors and arresting people and doing undercover work and surveillance and all that fun stuff. And now I coach women through their menopause.
Wow. That alone is a story that, we're gonna dig a little bit into, but go ahead, give us some more.
Yeah. So, I mean, how I got here was, I think, like most entrepreneurs, and a lot of like what you said is seeing a need, and how we found that need was based on my own experience, right? So I entered perimenopause at age 41, which is considered young when you look at data, but I feel like it's happening more and more and more. Like that the age is becoming younger and younger and younger, which due to a lot of factors, I think, in our environment and our stress levels and things like that, and our nutrition. So I entered at age 41, but I didn't know it. I had symptoms that to me didn't scream menopause. You think of menopause, you think of hot flashes, you think of night sweats, you think of things like that. I had heart palpitations. I would lay down at night and my heart would be racing. And I don't know why, like I worked out a lot. I would have depression, mood swings, a lot of anxiety. My menstrual cycles were completely erratic. And insomnia, that was the big one. Like, I used to sleep. Oh man, could I sleep? Like I would lay my head down and then not wake up and, for 8 hours later, and it was glorious. And then all of a sudden I would start waking up at 1, 2 in the morning and just laying there wide awake and staring, and no idea like why any of this was happening to me. But I'm going to say, I dealt with all that. I did go to a cardiologist for my heart, and I was actually told, well, you're getting older. And at this point I was only 44, and I felt very dismissed. I was like, I'm only 44 and I'm very active. Like I run marathons and things like that. So I felt very dismissed and very, and even my OBGYN told me you're way too young to be in perimenopause. But I was. I now know that now because I entered menopause at age 46. So 44 was not super young for me going through it. And so I think that I kind of took control of my own body at that point, since I felt I wasn't getting what I needed from the outside. So I did a lot of my own research, and I had already been certified as a health coach at that point. but I took it a step further and really started learning like a lot about hormones and women's hormones and how nutrition affects our hormones and how even stress affects our hormones and things like that. And so I really worked hard to bring my own body into balance. And I went through menopause. I have hardly any symptoms. If I get a hot flash, it's very like infrequent and short, and I know how to stop it on a dime now. I lost the weight I gained due to the hormone changes. And I also lost the weight that I had always been carrying, like those extra 10 pounds that I thought were just part of my set weight. No such thing, not my set weight. So it can be done. And like based on that, and talking to like my girlfriends and other women who are going through this, like I wasn't alone. Like so many other women felt like they had nowhere to turn, and that going on hormone therapy wasn't an option for them, right? And it wasn't an option for me either. My son is an IVF baby. I went through a lot of cycles of IVF. I was on the pill when I was younger, in my 20s and 30s. And so just the thought of putting more hormones into my body wasn't really something I wanted to do. And there's a lot of women out there also who feel that way. And so I started the menopause coaching, and I started it, and you can tell me if I'm talking too much, but
you're doing fantastic. I love it. This is all great information.
I started it mainly as guiding women nutritionally, right? And helping them like with their stress levels. And it's just evolved into so much more now because there's a more need. Like as I've learned in talking to other women and talking to my clients, that a lot of women, when they reach this age, it's like a two-pronged thing, right? They start to feel like, oh my God, what do I do now? Right? Like we're in midlife. I really don't feel like I have any direction. I feel like I've lived the last 40 something years of my life just doing, but not really being, and not really knowing if what I'm doing is like what I'm supposed to be doing. It's not really making me super happy, and a lost sense of purpose. So I work a lot now with that, with helping them find their joy and their purpose, and also helping them realize that they are more powerful than they know. Also, like I said, it's a two-pronged thing. So a lot of women at this age also feel like their best is behind them, right? They only have like old age ahead of them. They're not as powerful as they once were, or they're not as confident as they once were. And I want to change the narrative around getting older, that no, I call my program Power Surge, because not only we are more powerful than we've ever been before. We have all been through the fire. We have all been through the trials and tribulations of life. Like it's time for us to tap into that and really seize it and use that to find what's going to make us happy. Find that what's going to make our mark in the world. Like go back to school. Start a business at age 46, become an entrepreneur, find true love, travel around the world, whatever it is, it's not too late. We're only in the beginning of our lives. So,
wow, that is, guys, this is why I love doing this so much, because, when I meet somebody new, a person that, is starting a business, has started a business, what I love is seeing this power, this energy, this creativity. We're talking now to Melissa, who was a federal law enforcement agent knocking down doors, and said, you know what, I need a career, I need a change in my life. And based on her bodily activity, decided to pursue something that you're so passionate about. It's so cool to have you talk about this. And when you said, oh, I think I'm talking too much, or if I am, you're absolutely not, because this is exactly what this series is all about. It's about sharing people who saw some kind of just really important activity, really important event, really important thing, and said, how I need to help other people with this, and this is how I'm going to do it. So I give you so much credit for this, because wow, what a shift. And you did it because not only that huge shift, but because you wanted to help other people with what you were struggling with too, which is, by the way, guys, if you haven't gone through menopause, perimenopause, any of these things, this is a very personal thing. I mean, everybody is so very different. When Melissa and I were offline, we were talking about my experiences and her experiences, and so very different. And like you said, some of the things that you're talking about, it's not in the textbook. It isn't the things that the doctors even know that that's the thing, And so I love that you embraced this and said, I am fixing myself, but I want to help everyone else. And so God bless you for that. This is really cool. But so now I want to talk to you just a little bit about that transition, because you went from being an employee basically. So, obviously a pretty powerful situation, but you went from basically being an employee, going through this medical situation, and then said, I'm going to help other people. And at some point you decided this was a business, this was an action, this was something. Talk us through that a little bit, because I think that whole leap, whether you go from, I talked to somebody last week that she went from corporate to a business, hated the business she opened, and then closed it, went to another business. So no matter where you are in this is a mental step. You really have to say, all right, I'm going to do this. And these are, business is a serious thing. So talk us through that little process with you a little bit, because with everybody, it's a little bit different as well.
Yeah. So it's funny because in the beginning, I didn't think that it was going to be a business, right? I thought it would be a side hustle, even though I didn't have a main hustle.
Good. Well, yes, you did, because you were a mom there running.
Yeah, I had left DEA.
Mom and your life,
I had left DEA to raise my son. So yes, I thought it would be a side hustle, but then so it was something that took up some of my time. But then I realized I was really passionate about it, and being a side hustle wasn't enough. And so that's when I decided to jump in whole hog and have it eat up. And entrepreneurship, eat up all of my day, consuming my life with it. But even my husband says he's come do this, you're working too hard. And I don't feel like I'm working too hard. I love it. I love it. It brings me so much joy. When I'm working with my clients, I love it. When I'm working on the marketing, I love it. It's just because it's kind of like my new baby, and I just want to see it grow. But it is scary. I'm not going to lie and say it isn't scary. Fortunately, we're in a place where we're not relying on my salary to bring home the bacon. But that doesn't mean I don't want it to grow, right? It doesn't mean just because it's not something that we're going to go hungry tonight if we don't, if I don't get another client, it doesn't mean that I don't have the burning desire. And it comes from a place of wanting to serve, right? I want to help these other women. I want to do this. So there is a sense of urgency in that. I don't know if that's coming across, right?
100%. And then what I love about that is, people who aren't on that entrepreneurial train, they don't understand that this isn't about the money. Of course it's about the money. You got to pay the bills. You got to work through the processes, especially when you start taking on team members. It is somewhat about the money, but it's not about the money. It's totally about what that thing is that drives you. And in your case, from the side hustle to the complete passion that I'm taking over, and here's what we're going to do. So talk to me a little bit about, once you realized it was not the side hustle, it's the passion. What did you have to say to yourself? Okay, well, if I'm going to do this for a living, then I've got to do this. I've got to set some things up. How did you even know what to do? Where did you know where to go? What made that shift? What did you all of a sudden say, all right, I love doing this, but I've got to learn a little bit about how to run a business now?
Yeah, 100%. So I have my MBA. I went to business school. They do not teach you how to start a business, right? They teach you how to work in corporate. They teach you how to do those things, but they do not teach you how to start a business. Corporate finance was not going to get me where I needed to be.
That's a really powerful statement, because, in today's world, especially with, kids and trying to determine, are they going to stay in college, or they want to do this or pursue that? And I'm not promoting either one, but what I think is interesting is that you're bringing up a really valid point, because entrepreneurship is an animal all of its own.
It is. And especially as a solopreneur, which is where I am now. Just having to learn processes, having to learn marketing, and you can get stuck on that entrepreneurial hamster wheel or whatever it is, and every new shiny object, especially nowadays, go online, don't go online, build your Instagram, build your Facebook, build your LinkedIn, build you this. And it's where do you even turn? So for me, that was a big thing, really trying to hone in, where is the best place for me to go, to find my client, what is the best way for me to get my message out there to find my client? But then also oh my God, I have to open a separate bank account to keep all my stuff separate. Like I need to become an LLC. I need to like learn how to set up a website. I need to learn, like there's so many hats. Like, and it was funny because I was talking to someone the other day. I was like, oh, I'm going to be on Connie's, Facebook page, YouTube channel. And I'm so excited about that. And I have this interview and I have to do this and I have to post this. And then at some point I'm going to get to my clients, right?
Yeah, somehow I got to work. Yeah. Because that's what this is all about.
Exactly. So I think just realizing how much goes into building a business has been like completely overwhelming. But, just as I'm a coach and I want to help women through their menopause and help them with what they need, I hired someone to help me with what I need. Like I hired a business coach because that's what I needed. So we can all use a coach in our world to help.
Well, that's an interesting concept too. And I want to hit on that in a minute because I think that a lot of people don't really, the word coach can come in every shape and form and size. And I love that you call yourself a menopause coach because that's very specific and indicative of what you do. When you say coach, a lot of people don't really understand what that means. So, but I first wanted to go back to, because I love the fact that you're talking about, wow, I have to do all these things in my business and I'm not even doing my business. I have all these other things to do. And one thing I find interesting after being in my own brick and mortar business for more than 32 years is sometimes your employees don't even realize, and all the outside world doesn't realize that they maybe don't see you doing what you do because you're doing all this other stuff back here, and people don't always get that. So I love that you brought that up because there is so many additional pieces that you have to do, not just all the startup, but all the day-to-day stuff. Like you said, being on the show, my only requirement was you got to promote it on your channels, which, isn't a huge amount of time, but it's thought. You have to think about it. You have to take the time to do it. And, on top of all the other things that you're doing. So I love that you talked about that. So how long have you been at this level? When did you start your business and how long have you been doing your side hustle, now turned regular hustle?
So I've been doing the side hustle for over a year, probably about 18 months. I didn't transition into it being specifically menopause focused until probably about 8 months ago. It hasn't been that long, because I really feel like another thing about entrepreneurs, right? Like, I'm sure in any realm, but especially in the health realm, like if we're so passionate about health, you want to help everybody. Like, oh my God, I want the world to be healthy. I want everyone to eat good food. I want everyone to take care of their body, their mind, and their spirit. The thing is when you're trying to help everybody, you're speaking to nobody.
Yeah, that's true. Very good words of advice.
And so, I was going through my own menopause thing and doing all this, but it didn't click with me that this is who I need to be serving. This is who I need to be speaking to until much later on in me trying to build a health business. So, and I think it wasn't until I started really narrowing down and speaking a language that one group of people can understand that I started to build momentum and to really see traction in my business. So really and just because I'm just speaking to women about menopause or just speaking, it doesn't mean that eventually one day other people won't hear my message about health and wellness. So your voice is not going to get lost just because you're focusing on one target. So.
Gosh, I love this topic because, one of the hardest things for people to understand, particularly when they first start out, is everybody's so hungry for a client that you're willing to take anything that comes down the road, even if it, is totally off the other side of the spectrum of what you deal with. And so I think this is such an important piece for you to be sharing. And thank you for sharing that, because you have to know who the keyword is target audience, but really, who is it that you care about? Who do you really, really, really want to do this for? Why did you decide to start doing this? And that's your target. That's your piece. Who do you speak to best? Who do you have the best language with when you talk about your passion? And that's your target. That's your people. And then what happens is, as you said, other people start gravitating to you automatically because now you're very confident in your message because you know exactly what you want to say and who you want to say it to. And now your expertise and confidence is much higher. So thanks for sharing that. That is such a valuable piece of information. And I love that. And I do talk about that a lot. I want to go back to a couple of things. Number one, I want to talk about your spouse or your, let's say, partner in a big picture. In your case, it's, of course, it's your spouse, but people listening may not have a spouse, so that may not resonate. But I want to say partner, your person, whoever your tribe is around you, whatever those words are. How important is it for that person to buy in when you make a big decision like this? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Huge, right? And because you need their support, because there are so many times when, a lot of people think like entrepreneurship and building a business is like this, or maybe a little slower and then an up ramp. It's like this.
I love the entrepreneur hamster wheel. That is so profound.
It's crazy and it's emotional, right? Because it is your baby. It is your business. It's something you're investing like your heart and soul into. So having the support of your tribe or your community or in my case, my spouse is so important, because he may not understand. He doesn't understand the menopause. He doesn't understand, all that stuff, but he doesn't have to. Like, he just is there to listen to me and be a sounding board and be supportive and understand my crazy when things aren't going well, and just, and it doesn't have to be a spouse. Like you said, it's just very important to have somebody or a group of people who really can be behind you, even if they don't understand what's going on with you.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And, I'm like you, I'm very fortunate. I have a husband who, it doesn't always understand me, but pulls me off the ledge whenever that's necessary, which can be more often than not sometimes. But, like you said, we go through this, we're going down this great path and we have all these things figured out, and and boom, somebody put a concrete barrier there and you hit it and you fall back and you go, whoa, what just happened? Yeah. Okay, I'm not sure what to do now. How do I get around that? And that takes a really toll on, your activity and your emotions. Because we're human beings at the end of the day. So, the other piece of this, as we're talking about this, is the whole coach concept. And when we talk about this, I love the idea of having a coach, but it coincides with this whole concept of mentorship and why people, business people gravitate towards a mentor or a coach or that type of thing. Talk to us a little bit about that, why that was pivotal, how you even realized that was a good idea, and what that brings to you.
So a lot of things appealed to me about my coach. His viewpoint is that really business is 100% mindset, not 80, not 70, 100%, right? Because it is, and it's a lot about what I tell my clients too. It's that, listen, we live in the age of Google, right? You don't need me per se to tell you these are foods you should be eating. These are things, this is the protocol you should be following. What you need me for is to get your mind there that you're able to do it, right? So it's all about mindset. It's all about believing you can do it. And when you don't believe you can do it, how you can get yourself to a place where you believe you can do it, right? So developing that mindset. But he definitely also teaches business practices, not just all, mindset. And I said to my husband, when I was probably about 6 months into working with my coach, that I could have gotten here, right? I could have gotten here. I could have learned all this stuff. I could have done it. It would have taken me 4 or 5 years to do it. It's like a faster track. It's like, it helps you get to where you need to be mentally and tactically faster. And that's what coaches do. Tom Brady has won a number of Super Bowls. Do you think he says, I don't need a coach, right? I don't need someone to guide me. I don't need just someone up here with an outside view of my life and my game to be able to tell me maybe some things I could be doing differently or better. Right.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up, and is, not only is the coach giving you're talking about mindset and business practices, but they're also a different, other than somebody in your tribe that loves you and will say yes, whatever you want, somebody on the outside that sees your whole picture and sees the holes in your picture and helps you figure out how to fill them without knowing anything about your particular business. They see the big picture. And sometimes we get so stuck in that mud puddle or that, swamp that we can't see the rope that's laying right on the side. I love the analogy of I think it's around Halloween, and they're, I forget what it's actually for. I don't even remember what the commercial's for, but these kids are running through the woods and they run up to barn and there's all these knives and chainsaws and all this hanging and they're all three fighting, trying to figure out what's the best result. And the one girl says, so let's go get in the car. But they're standing right there and there's so much going on. They just can't see it. They can't see the best result. And so I think this is where this concept of coach, mentor, business practice kind of person that helps you not only do the right business practices and make sure you have all your pieces in a line, but also helps you fill those holes that you just can't see behind you.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just an objective outside of party, right? We are not objective when it comes to our businesses. We're not. You know?
Yeah, that is absolutely a fact. So then that brings me to, talking about your passion a little bit. So you're talking about starting your business, some of the, all of the things you didn't know that you didn't know. But let's talk about two sides of this now. Now we're talking about, you realize like this is, no matter what, this just drives you into a super amazing place. So talk to me first about the difference between seeing that vision and then it gets in your soul and you just said, it doesn't matter. I'm not working, like you said, I'm not working. And I run into the same thing. And a lot of us are now while we're working from home is our spouse doesn't necessarily understand that our workspace is the safe space and they're not allowed in unless, the house is on fire. But talk about that passion for a minute, because I think people who aren't in this space, or maybe even if they are in this space and they're just not there yet, I don't think that people get it. So talk to us a little bit about how that feels and how you figured it out.
It feels great. So yeah. And I feel like without the passion, I would have given up already, right? Because it's not easy. It's not just like people are beating down your door kind of a thing. So without the passion and the desire to really serve, I think I would have stopped a long time ago. But it feels amazing, right? It feels like home, I guess, when you're doing what you feel like you're born to do. And it's so funny because I feel like it is what I was born to do, right? My nickname from the art teacher in elementary school, he used to call me Mother because I used to love to give advice and tell all the other kids how they should be living their life.
Isn't that funny? Things come full circle, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, it's an amazing feeling. And I feel like it's what you need. Like if you're doing something just for the money, and I love money, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not doing it for free. I love the money, but if you're doing it just for the money, it's good. You're going to run out of steam. I feel like you're not like in the dark times when you had no after no after no, the money itself is not going to be enough to push you through. So
Totally agree with you.
It really makes your heart sing, and this makes my heart sing, right? Like it's it gets you through those no's a lot.
Gosh, we can totally see that. So I mean, your passion is just infectious, and so appreciate you sharing that. So share with us as we're winding up here. Share with us your go-to, something you heard, something that you always go back to that just gets you out of that mud puddle or gets you out of that slump, even though you have all of that passion in your soul. There is times when you hit a wall and nobody's getting you off of it, but something was presented to you at some.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's Napoleon Hill. I'm not sure, but I think somewhere in his book, he tells the story of his uncle or his great uncle who was digging for gold, right? Like during the gold rush, he got all this stuff and he just started digging for gold, and he made a lot of money, but then the gold dried up, right? And so he was like, well, we're done here, and sell off my equipment, and that's it. And he sold off his equipment super cheap. And the guy who bought it from him knew a little bit about engineering and geology and knew that the vein of gold had just shifted. And so like the uncle learned that he was literally 3 feet from the gold, right? Three feet from the honey pot. And like, so like the moral or whatever is like, you're only 3 feet from the gold. Like, don't stop. There's so many entrepreneurs and small businesses fail, not because they were a bad idea, not because nobody wanted their service, but that when the going got tough, or when things started to dry up just a little, you stop digging, right? You stop going. And so I'm always about like, just keep going. Like it's right around the corner. Like it's going to happen, and so just keep digging for that gold.
That is so profound. I really appreciate that because that's so visual too. I'm a very visual person, and that is something that we can all just grab onto. That's right. That it was right under there, 3 feet farther under than where he stopped digging. So that was really, really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Melissa, if somebody wants to find you after today, how do we do that? I'm going to type it in the comments so people can see it. Tell us how people can find you after today.
Yeah, sure. So 2 ways. I think my website is www.yourpowersurge.com. So yourpowersurge.com. So that's if they want to learn more about my program and how to, and they can reach out to me and apply to work with me. And then the other way is on Instagram. I'm at Coach Melissa Bell, and I'm always every day posting new tips and tricks and spiritual guidance and things like that on there. So lots of fun.
Excellent. Tell us, do you have something that you want to share with us, and additionally that you may have going on your website, a program, an upcoming event, or something that you work with that you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah. So, how I work with my clients is it's all one-on-one. Everything's tailored and customized to them. So it's one-on-one coaching. Basically, I'll be talking to you just like I'm talking to you, Connie, here.
Nice. Very nice.
And so it's all private one-on-one coaching. You can learn all about it on my website.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, Melissa, I can't tell you how much fun this has been, how exciting. And I just love your passion and feel that, the energy that you have for what you're doing and how you want to help everybody else. And I, wish you all the best, and I'm really looking forward to staying connected with you. We just recently met, about a week ago, guys. And so it's just been phenomenal just connecting with her and learning more about her. And I'm looking forward to that relationship growing as we become friends for a lot longer. So Melissa, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you today.
Thank you, Connie. I totally appreciate being here and getting to talk to everyone.
Awesome. All right. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into Entrepreneurial Live Interviews with Connie Fuchsa. It's been my pleasure to have Melissa Bell on with us of Power Surge today. If you want to go back and see this in its entirety, you maybe missed some of it, you can go to my YouTube channel, Connie Fuchsa. Subscribe there so you don't miss any of the videos. You can also go to my website, conniefuchsa.com. And on our website, there's lots of other tips and tricks because I too am a coach, but I am not in the wellness space. I am in the space of helping entrepreneurs expose their expertise. So if you want to learn more about that, certainly reach out to me, conniefuchsa.com. And for now, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye. Bye, Melissa.